The biggest problem is that we've moved away from a world of passive panel data collection that worked in the old traditional landscape to a world where we need to have measurement at the impression level and at that census level, but it's also dependent on having a view into both what's happening at the point of consumption, which is client side or at the glass level, so that we can validate what the publisher side is reporting to us. Because there can be differences between what a publisher thinks is happening at their log level data and what's actually happening in the home or at the client level on the screen. So I think that's the big challenge for the industry, which is reconciling those variances now. And to do it, you have to have census level data sets.
And for buyers, what kind of problems result from these complexities?
Well, look, there are all kinds of problems. The one that we've been focused on at GroupM, as many people know for the past 6 months or so, is this notion of what we're calling continuous play, which is an ad event potentially being logged by a publisher because the device that their content is being streamed over thinks that the television is still on, so it continues to play, when in fact the television's off or the input has been changed. And there's no good clarity right now in the industry for hardware to be talking to each other, right? The television talking to the stick or the gaming console or the puck that's connected through an HDMI port playing content. And then that device talking to the apps that are operating on its operating system. There are literally tens of thousands of different permutations of those combinations of TVs and devices and apps. And we need to fix that. And until we do, we have to have a measurement solution that protects advertisers from that particular problem. And that isn't the only one. I'll be the first to say that the publishers have very valid arguments about undercounting in the linear space. The panel services and the measurement services need to do a better job of incorporating all households into their linear viewing counts. So I think there are problems all around that require bigger data sets, more sophisticated data sets, and in a lot of cases, triangulation of data sets to get to the right answer.
Now, you've been very clear that coordination and communication between different parties across the ecosystem is going to be critical to solve these problems. Do you feel we have the right vehicles in place to deliver that kind of coordination and communication?
I don't. Look, without calling anyone out, the MRC as far back as 2018 had initially put in place language in their impression guidelines that referred to the TV on-off problem. It's 2022 and we don't have a solve. So that tells me that as smart as people were 4 years ago identifying the problem, there wasn't a commitment by the industry to solve it. We need to do much better, we need to work much faster. The vast majority of consumption is now in the streaming space. There is no reason why we should not be placing the most emphasis on solving measurement in the part of the industry that is growing the fastest.
You've also expressed some concerns about ad reductions as we move into a space with more SVOD services. How real is the impact of that on your clients?
It's important to understand because as capacity declines, the basic model historically for media planners and buyers was as ratings erosion continued, you threw more GRPs at the table to cum reach. And there was a point of diminishing returns on that reach curve. The more GRPs you ran, the slower the incremental reach impact was. But we're now at a breaking point where today I need to run almost 4 times as many GRPs as I did just a decade ago to cum the same reach in linear TV. That's unsustainable, and what it creates is massive frequency against heavy TV viewers, the people who are generating the most viewing, right? So what we need to do in the streaming space as that capacity declines is to enable solutions that allow marketers to use impressions in much more sophisticated ways. So if I know that I've delivered a household or a viewer on through a streaming service in the past 24 hours, I should be able to not deliver that person anywhere else I'm buying streaming activity so that I can flatten out my delivery to households and people who haven't been exposed yet. And to make sure that the next impression that I buy is incremental to ones that I have delivered over the past time period, whatever that is. We don't have the systems in place to do that at scale today. The different media companies that I operate with don't really want or haven't enabled the ability for me to manage frequency at a campaign level as opposed to within individual silos. And those are the things that we have to have honest conversations about solving, because ultimately the value of those impressions will be driven higher if I can make each impression work harder.
Is the consequence of this that dollars are going to be driven into the TV equivalent of walled gardens? That large-scale businesses who can link up more of their inventory and deliver what you're looking for will do better?
Absolutely, and that's the danger, right? Because the danger is that we end up with 3 or 4 of these companies, and mass marketers place their bets to work with 1 or 2 of them so that they can avoid most of these problems that aren't solved. And what that means for the middle and long tail sections of the publisher community is massive problems beyond what they're facing today. If they think today's challenges are tough, wait until we live in that world.
So with the volume switch rating 1 to 10, how loudly are you sounding the alarm today?
I mean, I'd say I'm at about a 6. We are starting to talk about these problems publicly. We believe they need to be solved. We want to work collaboratively with the industry to solve them. We don't think that these are issues that are competitive. We believe that there are ways to solve them equitably so that everyone in the ecosystem benefits. What that means is that people can't look at this as a zero-sum game where there are only going to be winners and losers. We all have to just accept the fact that for the betterment of the industry, we all have to build some of these solutions and share in the benefits.